So today I am doing something that both excites me but also makes me ridiculously nervous. Guys, we are going crit racing. Welcome back to the What Life. Let's roll. So I'm in Abingdon at Dalton Barracks. I've never done this before. I don't know what I'm doing. I'll talk you all through it in a sec. Nick! Yeah, gonna give it a crack. Max in the past is going to talk you through in 30 seconds very quickly what you need to do to get registered to be a bike racer, to come and do an event basically. I haven't signed on. I need to sign on. I need to jump on my bike, get some warm-up laps in, and then yeah, we're gonna go. I'll talk you through it in a sec. If you want to go racing, the first thing you are going to have to do is get yourself a race license, and it's quite easy. Go to the British Cycling website and then click on membership. Scroll down and you have 3 options. The first is free, then you have a member, and you have a premium membership. If you want to go racing, you are going to need to use either the member or the premium. Register as a member, which is what I did, which is the middle one, and then from there you're going to have to get yourself either a day license for a single event, or you can buy a race license for the calendar year that ends in December, which will cost you 40 quid. So all in, I paid 50 quid for a membership and 40 quid for a race license. So I don't have a clue what I'm doing, but we're going to give it a crack. There's a Cat 4 only race. I've been told it's nice and wide. I think that obviously helps. And just signed on, so I've got a bib, I got a timing chip, which I've just seen some guys attaching to their front fork. So I guess that's what I'm gonna do. Give me a sec, I'm gonna grab my gear. I do not have aero kit, I do not have a race suit, just normal kit, normal suit. I'm gonna dive in. I presume maybe you take your tool bag off the back. I don't quite know how crit racing works. I think on the website it said 45 minutes, then they ring a bell for 3 laps, or they put the lap board out and then it's 3 laps, and then it's a bell, and then it's the last lap. I don't know. I guess we'll figure it out. But at least I get to go into a Cat 4 crit race that is somewhere where it's nice and open and wide. So apparently one thing I can do is just kind of stay on the outside and at least try and have some fun for my first event ever. Right, we've only got 20 minutes to go, so I need to get my stuff sorted. I am really nervous about this. I've never ever done anything like this before, and I don't really know what to expect. I don't really know how to do it. It's very different. Doesn't help being a YouTuber as well, because you don't get to be the like the guy that's just new to it. You just immediately get put into that guy's an idiot with a camera. I'm not saying they're wrong, I'm just saying that they skip straight to that presumption. Anyway, I've got some gels, and just make sure my tire pressure is set up. I can probably leave my phone in the car, go and do some warm-up laps. I guess car key goes in the back pocket, and figure the rest out as we go. It's 6:15 now. My race starts in 15 minutes. I've got no idea what to expect. I think the plan is just to ride with, obviously, the group, see what they do. I don't know anything. Guys, I can't help you because no one's here to help me, but we're gonna give it a go and see what happens. I think I'm just gonna ride around and try and stay in the bunch, and if people go, then I think, well, you know, if people go, if anything happens, I think you then have to decide whether you want to move with it. The only bit of advice I've had from the guys is, you know, if you don't feel comfortable, try and sit on the outside and don't do the work for other people, I think was another tip, which I think is quite a good one. But I don't know what that means. I really don't know what that means. Right, let's do it. Do I take a water bottle? Well, I'm gonna have a little cheeky look to see if other people have brought water bottles. Now, it seems like most people are not running water bottles, so that's what I'm gonna do, because I'm a man of the people. feels so like out of place. I've never done a race before, Cat 4 race.
Yeah.
Would you mind just saying a few words about how it worked?
So, crit race. So, if you're new to cycling, this is the perfect venue. Wide, as you can see, very wide circuit. It's a 45-minute race, roughly. Very wide. Cat 4 is the entry level. Rock up, either sign on in advance on BC website or come down and see us, pay cash or on the day. We'll give you a brief before the race. Anyone that doesn't know anything, that wants questions, we'll just answer them there and then give you as much guidance as possible. And then really it's just about blasting around the track with no cars on it and having a bit of fun.
So 45 minutes and then you get a lap board, is that right?
So you get 3 to go that will make the race roughly 45 minutes. So we'll work out from your race times.
Oh, so the race total is 45 minutes?
Between 45 and 50 depending on where you are on the circuit, because there's 2 races that run concurrently. So you're on with the E123s, so the fast boys. 2 separate races, so we'll try and keep the finishes as far apart as possible. It's not always possible, but we calculate it with 3
so we'll be running with like the quick, so we should expect to have a few like whizzing by us.
Yeah, so they'll go, so you'll start first normally. They will then catch you at some point, normally 2 or 3 laps in. We'll go past you, you can't jump on the back of their race, it's their race. They'll disappear off in the distance, possibly lap you again depending on how quick they're going or how quick you're going. And then we basically work out in about 30 minutes when we think we're going to call 3 laps to go, based on where you are on the track. Because we can work out from lap times how fast they're going to catch you.
Nice.
So lap time, so if you're doing a 4:30 and they're doing a 3:50, 40 seconds.
Okay, you can figure it,
Yeah, you work it out that way basically.
Any advice to a newbie, newbie?
I would say, I would sit at the back of the bunch to start off with, just get a feel for the track. You know, and the advantage with the newbie is you've got a sight and lap, so there's no one on the circuit before your race. You can get around and have a feel for the circuit first. Just take it easy. You don't need to try and win the first race you enter. It doesn't need to be done. If you do, brilliant, well done. But generally, I would just say roll round, get a feel for it. Hold your lines in the corners. Don't chop across the apexes. Hold your lines. If you chop across, someone behind you will be basically in tarmac, which is not nice for anybody, you or them. And no one likes the sound of carbon going crack. It's not fun. Apart from that, generally, it's just have fun. That's my main bit of advice. Enjoy it.
That's my little personal briefing, which I thought was very useful. He didn't mention how windy it was. It's windy. So I don't know what I'm expecting from this. I'll be honest with you, I'm not expecting anything other than a learning experience. I'm just going to go up and down, head back, get to the briefing, try and hold the group, stay in the group, keep my lines in the corner, learn to ride with that kind of bunch group mentality, try and get comfortable with that and see how it goes. I've been told because it's a wide track that you end up getting, for the best part, a bunch sprint at the end of the 45 minutes. So I've never done one of those before. There's a lot of things I haven't done before that we will figure out this evening. But for me, we're gonna get set up, try and hold the group, smash a gel before we go, and just try and hold on. It's a beaut evening, huh? Hello, dude. Just thought I'd come along.
Yeah, do it, mate. Just go fast, turn left.
Yeah.
And you'll be fine.
Go fast, turn left. Roger that.
Yeah, you'll be good. It's quite an interesting wind direction for today. It's very rarely from the right.
Okay.
So it's going to be an interesting one.
See you afterwards. I'm so nervous though. Oh my God, why is it so nerve-wracking? It's like literally just riding a bike. It's like riding a bike. So after all that, it didn't take long before we were on the start line, and before I even knew it, they were saying go. So time to take a closer look at some bike racing. I'm not sure how many riders were in our race. It looks like there's about 16 to 18 of us, maybe 20 riders. As you can see, I'm kind of settled in at the back. Let me just talk you through this. We have my watts in the bottom right, we have my cadence and then my heart rate and then speed down the bottom. And at the top we have a little course map plus the distance. Guys, the total distance for the race was about 22 miles, so that's probably the best way to kind of keep you up to speed of how far through the race we are. And you can see that, especially on this first lap, like I said, I did not actually get a chance to ride the course beforehand, so the intention was always to sit a little bit further back. And guys, I welcome any and every comment. Please, things about performance, as in just, wattage. The answer is always going to be just be better, be faster, be stronger. But in terms of kind of positioning, any kind of tips and stuff about positioning, kind of holding lines, movement, that kind of thing is very much welcomed. But just saying ride faster, be better is probably not that helpful. And on my first lap especially, I've kind of never really moved. I've always ridden on a road with groups where you are basically determined to where you can be, in part to the traffic and the actual law of the road plays a role. On here there is no kind of law enforcement in place whatsoever. You can go anywhere and do anything in theory. So this is my first ever experience of that, really, and for that reason it's kind of why I have sat further back. I do allude to this a little bit later, but it turns out that this was a slightly quicker Cat 4 race that they have had in the previous weeks. I think that obviously the nice weather really helps, and you can see that the group has kind of really stretched out from the off, and this was the very first lap, and you can see my wattage keep like diving up into the 600-700 watts, as and I was actually kind of thinking, oh my god, if it does this for 50 minutes I am in a lot of trouble. But hopefully in a second you'll see that it quietens right down, and we bring the group back together. But fundamentally, this is me taking you through the very first lap. And at this point, I decide that I have to move up because I want to try and hold this front group. And I put a little bit of effort in here, only to realise that the group actually completely slows up, and kind of getting back on is not so much of a problem. But it does look like we might even have been losing touch with the group before the end of the very first lap, which I guess in some kind of references would be classed as a bit of a disaster. I'll also point out that my heart rate's 171, and I kind of previously to this thought I topped out at about 176, but this evening I hit 182 during my final epic sprint finish. So if you do nothing else, please do cut through to the sprint finish of this race, because I am mildly proud of it, and I'll talk you through it once we get to that point. So it still looks like we have 16, 18 riders or so in our group, and for the best part, my goal for this was trying to understand what it means to hold a line in a corner. It's very easy to say it, but doing it and the practicality of that is something else. And to me, it kind of means that if you shoulder check and you see there's one rider inside you, then you effectively have to leave at least one rider's room for that person on the inside. And that was the nicer thing about this race. I think we get to a point where there's 12 or 13 riders in our group, and it means that if you look over your shoulder and there's one rider, and I think this happens here, I look over my shoulder and realize there's one rider inside me, so I can come across slightly knowing that I've only got to leave like a rider and a half's room. So I come off that corner and kind of move through, and I realise that the wind at this point is coming from the right hand side, a big old kind of cross/headwind. So this finish straight is always kind of directly into the wind, and for that reason I kind of just let myself fall back and then tuck in on the back of the group, having to put some watts through. And it tends to be why this start-finish straight is a little bit slower than the back side of the course with the corners, where you get a bit more of a tailwind. You get to kind of use that as an advantage. So the best position as you are going down this particular point on the course is to be tucked in on the left, because then you are sheltered from the riders on the right. So this guy that's on the right just in front of us here is actually just taking a full-on battering, and I'm actually trying to stay as far left as possible and use what I can to kind of sit in behind these wheels. I'll also say that the GoPro sometimes exaggerates the gap between myself and the rider in front. I'm fairly sure that we are quite tucked into one another at this point. there isn't much longer of me holding this front group, and I think when I try to figure it out, there's about 10 riders ahead of us, maybe 11. But at some point, a few of the guys at the front kind of go. So keep an eye on the wattage as we near the top corner and we round it, because you'll see what kind of happens and the way that we have to try and respond to that. And bear in mind, we are maybe 3-4 laps into this. So I have done a proportion where I've just got used to kind of cycling with this group. But the other thing that I had to learn very quickly was cycling through the corners. And you see the guys here, just, we're all still turning the pedals as we go around the corner, 500 odd watts, and then kind of come back into the group. And at this point, I'd probably say there's about 10 or so riders ahead of me. And then you can see the guy at the front, a couple of the guys just start kicking out the saddle, off they go. I try and react to it, probably not strong enough, and hit that kind of 600-700 watts, but I don't sustain it, and this was ultimately the move that drops me off the very front kind of group. And it kind of felt like it was in touching distance. Something similar to this happened a few laps ago. And then the group slowed down, and it gave us half a chance to ride back on. My heart rate obviously hitting 171, which is, that's some hard riding for me. So I just kind of realized that, oh God, I think I've kind of balls this up and missed the move a little bit. But I was using this as a massive learning experience, and part of that learning experience is kind of understanding how much you can, how much you can lean a bike over and keep pedaling through the corners, how you can like adjust your line through the corners with other riders on your inside and riders on your outside. And that was kind of like part of the focus for me, certainly within the first like 4 or 5 laps that I might have done with the main group. But the interesting thing is that when I fell off that main group, I was kind of like a little bit disheartened. I was like, what do I do? What do I do? And it turns out that these 2 riders came from behind. So these guys had been working together, and they kind of caught me up as I was like cycling around, kind of looking over my shoulder. What is the best thing to do? Because I'm obviously not going to be able to work back onto the group. I don't have that strength in me. I saw these guys coming. They come past me, and I was like, well, let's kind of put our little 3-person team together. And here we are coming down the start-finish straight, and as you can see, the rider on the front is always kind of forward and right, because that is obviously where the wind is coming from. So the most shelter is just tucked on the inside of the rider in front of you to kind of get that most protection, if you will. So this is our little 3-man or 3-up riding section now. And this is what actually became really fun for me, because even though we dropped off, the first 10, 11 places in the race, I now get a chance to ride with 2 other guys. We get to alternate turns, and we were very kind of treating it very much as like an effort that the 3 of us kind of understood that we'd be getting more out of it if we were to work together and try and take us up. But at the same time, I will point out this is the penultimate lap. So we're going to finish this lap, and then we're going to go into the last lap of the race. So this is the 3 of us. Things to consider, I guess, at this point is sharing the workload, who's doing time at the front. And then when I realized that we kind of come round this lap and we come into the very last lap, and I hear a bell, and I'm kind of like, okay, well, this is the last lap of the race. It suddenly kind of popped into my head, okay, well, where do you want to be positioned? How much work do you want to do? And bear in mind, guys, I am fully aware that this is a Cat 4 race. It's fun, it's enjoyable. But at the same time, I think part of that enjoyment is kind of taking it, in that kind of serious context of like, well, it's still a race. It doesn't matter that it has Cat 4 written in front of it. So, we can only extrude the amount of enjoyment from it that your mindset will allow. So I was kind of taking it, not massively kind of crazy serious, but I was like, do you know what? It's fun to consider these things. It's fun to have to make those tactical decisions that eventually come in. So this section that we're doing now, as we come down the back side of the course, is very much wind assisted. And after doing, a number of loops on this course, I realized that I can come into this corner a little bit wider and come under the rider in front of me, and that kind of puts me inside the wind on them, when I come out of the corner. And these are things that I was trying to do now, knowing that on the last lap they could come in quite handy. So being like kind of tucked in on the inside and just a bit more wind protected coming out of the corner was going to put me in a better position. And the same thing goes for what is effectively the next corner, which will next lap be the last corner of the race before we come into the start finish. And it was a good chance, because I've never ridden this course before, I've never done a race before. I don't really know when people kind of, I don't want to say break off, but I don't really know when people kind of go. When do people kick? When do they push? I've never done it. I've got no experience of it. So a lot of this is me reacting or having to react to what other people are doing. And thank you for the little elbow throw. Throwing the elbow as you come onto the start-finish straight, which is entirely into the wind. Kind of, I knew that this kind of, in some respects, put me in a good position. And I knew that I wanted to take our little 3-person group up the entirety of the start finish. If you look at the map on the top left, you'll see that it is a good length of distance to cover. Guys, that's the start finish line that we are crossing now, and on the next lap, that was the bell lap. Or this is the bell lap, this is the last lap. So we have just done effectively what will be the last corner and then ultimately the sprint. So these are things that I'm thinking about, and I was thinking that if I lead the entirety of the start finish with a 3-man group, I am going to let the group come through. Once we get to the top, they will understand, hopefully, that I've put in a reasonable effort. So at least one of them will lead half the other lap, and then the other one can lead like the half of the da-da. So it kind of puts me in quite a good position. If I was to only do a little bit of this start-finish straight, I might end up on the front kind of at the wrong time. And my idea was that basically there's 2 riders that are behind me now, who I am effectively competing against in the loose sense of the term. So if I let those guys come through at the right time, I'm going to get the rest that I need to put me in a good position for the finish line, or certainly the finish line sprint. Not that I actually understand or know how to perform a sprint. So there we go. I've basically taken us up the entire length of the start finish. And then I let the other 2 come through and dive straight back onto a wheel. So with only basically half a lap left here, and having me done the whole start finish straight, I'm thinking that I'm in a reasonable position, because hopefully these guys will do a quarter lap each, and then that basically puts us, the next time I'm on the front is sprint finish time. Not that I actually know what that actually means. I just know that do less. And this does actually circle back to the comment that originally someone said to me was, don't work for other people. I'd done my work, but I hopefully did it at the right time, which then lets me kind of move to the back of this group. And it's obviously caveated by we are fighting for 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, whatever position it is. So a part of this ride was the enjoyment of working together as a group, but then ultimately that switch has to turn off at some point. So we get a nice little turn, which was a quarter lap, and then I'm thinking, okay, right, well there is 2 things that are going to happen now. Either we're going to basically just ride the full length to the finish line, or he's going to pull off and let me kind of lead in onto that finish straight. So anything can happen. I've got no idea what's going to happen. I just know that if all I need to do is kind of focus on my positioning, I feel like I'm in a really good position here, because out of the 3 of us, I'm second wheel, so I'm getting some wind. It means that if it does come down to that kind of sprint, then I've only got 1 wheel to try and push past. So for me, I was pretty happy here. I'm just trying to see what's kind of gonna happen. I know that I want to start on the outside of this corner and end up on the inside of him on the exit of this next corner. Do notice that the hands go down onto the drops. I didn't actually realize it at the time, but obviously I think he was getting ready to dive out the saddle and put a kick in. I see his kick and I cover his kick straight away. And this, guys, I love this. I love this so much. I cannot tell you how much I love this. Keep an eye on the wattage. So he kicks straight out the corner and he kicks hard, but I managed to cover the whole kick, and then I end up behind him and the watts come off just slightly as he dives back into the saddle, and I was like, well, now's my time. Guys, I'm over geared here. I'm working, I'm way over geared, but damn, it comes down to like literally inches. And I think out of our like fighting for the positions we're in, I take it. Your boy has finished the race. Oh, that was hard. But guys, did you see the finish? That was very fun. Right, I need to get my... I'll give you a full debrief in a second. The Cat 3s are going now with the women, I think. Let me sort myself out.
You got something that I need. Yeah, I need. Ooh, ooh.
What a great night for some racing. Very cool. A few words for the YouTube.
For the YouTube. Yeah. Hi.
Okay,
that was a tough race.
Wait, I've never raced before, right?
Okay.
So when we kind of joined up and had our little kind of 3-person.
Yeah. I'm calling it a breakaway, but
yeah.
it was a break off.
I mean, that seemed to me like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. It's just demoralising because you're just competing for whatever's left at the end. But yeah,
It must have been like 7th or 8th, I think.
I'll officially, I haven't checked.
Okay.
But yeah, that was good.
Yeah, and we were just doing the right thing, right? Just taking turns.
Well, you've got two choices at that point. It's kind of never say die, or you can drop off and you can kiss it goodbye and leave it till next time. So I almost always go around to see what I can pick up. You know, you're in for a workout anyway, right? So
I loved our sprint down the
which you edged. Yeah. That's good fun.
I didn't know what I was doing. I just saw you come out the corner, and to be fair, you led into the corner, so I knew you had the harder. You had done more of the work coming into it.
Sure.
But between us three, I felt like you were the strongest rider of the three. But
Thank you.
I think you led into the corner.
I did.
Came
yeah.
out of the corner.
Yeah.
Then you kind of went, and I knew that if I just tried to hold your wheel, I've never done it before. I just thought I've just seen it happen on TV.
So I've done it a couple of times. I know I can. That's generally from there to here is about a 30-second sprint.
Yeah.
So I've got it more or less measured. But to be fair, I think I had done the lap before where I'd pretty much done that turn. I was hoping. The other guy who's with us, the Condors guy, he basically led most of that, but then he tactically came off just before the last left-hand turn.
So that's why I thought you went early, because I thought you didn't want him basically coming
no, so my feeling, we had another guy, but you said at the end that we'd lapped him, but I thought he'd kind of jumped on at the end.
Okay, no.
And so I was like, hang on a minute, you haven't done any work, I want us three to be protected, so I wanted us to kind of finish at the end. So.
I have to say though, I really appreciate that last effort coming, because for my first race, I couldn't care where we came.
Sure.
To get to the finish line, what felt like inches apart from one another's wheel.
Well, that's the fun of it. I'd rather miss by an inch than kind of like just do nothing.
Oh man, I appreciate it. You literally made my day for the first ever racing experience. So I'll be telling everyone.
There's one every week until second week of July.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm going to try and come down.
If you can hang it.
Yeah.
Got something that I need.
My legs are absolutely killing me. Okay, little debrief from that was, first and foremost, I really enjoyed it. A lot of the anxiety kind of stuck with me over the first few laps. I actually didn't get to do a sighting lap. I think that's what it's called, which made it a little bit harder because I didn't really know the course. That's the lesson learned for next time though. Get here a little bit earlier, or at least do a lap before you have to try and race it. I spent the whole time at the back, which was fine. Like, it felt like the most comfortable spot for me. So when I fell off the back, I was a bit like, what do I do now? Because there was a little bit of anxiety about that. Like, effectively, do I just keep looping around? Do I just on my own? But luckily we found that little 3-man group, which then became incredibly fun. It's like the race within the race. One of the guys did say afterwards that it was quite a fast evening. Obviously it's one of the nicest evenings we've had in June, which made it a little bit quicker. But what I did learn is, you speak to the guys afterwards, everyone is super friendly. We had our little 3-man race, which I whole heart, like hand on heart, really enjoyed that. And then that finish, just like, I literally can't believe it. I know that wherever we came in the race, which was not near the front, it was still so exciting to see someone go, to then try and have to hold their wheel in a Cat 4 race, guys, like context, and then kind of just what felt like nose over the line. It wasn't a bike throw, guys. I don't know how to do that, but it felt like, you know, it just felt like a proper race, which I just thought was like a lot of fun. So I'm gonna have to come back next week and we'll give it another crack, because I really enjoyed it. Guys, thanks for joining in. Hopefully this has given you guys the encouragement that you might need, and just some details about what it's like kind of joining in on a race and getting stuck in. So my advice is give it a go. So if you guys found that useful, you know, please do like, subscribe to the channel. We will be racing again soon. I've got a city race next week, which again, that's going to be crazy. I don't know what's going to happen there, but yep, I will see you guys on another one soon. Thanks for sticking around.